I wanted to cover a topic that I've seen asked recently a few times and have been asked myself last weekend at a match about gripping the firing grip of a precision AR. So the two main ones I see are the traditional thumb wrapped around grip and then the what I've heard called the precision grip, where the thumb is laid over on the same side or on top of the safety, if you will. So a couple of things I've seen over the years and heard is that people want to do this because with a traditional grip, they find themselves in like prone position, torquing the gun over. And to eliminate that, they found that putting the thumb on here on the same side as the trigger finger reduces or eliminates that torque. So what I have personally seen with that is, and when somebody asks me about that, I bring up length of pull. So length of pull for this purpose being the distance of the trigger to the butt plate. So with a shorter length of pull, what I've noticed is people are bunched up, this elbow and this hand being close, tighter in, causing the gun to roll over in the prone primarily. So by increasing that length of pull distance, that movement from the wrist and torquing the gun over is eliminated or reduced. This is not always a solution because sometimes maybe that length of pull is too far to get a proper eye relief and a good purchase on the gun for the cheek weld. And that could be a multitude of other issues, improper scope mounting position and whatnot. It could also be a shoulder placement. Maybe they're shooting out here versus here, and so on and so forth. But just for all intents and purposes and a quick explanation, the closer you are in, the more angle you're going to have with that wrist typically, causing an issue. Could also be from an injury or just our body type, things like that. So not everything, contrary to popular belief, is a one-size-fits-all solution. However, we do have baselines. So typically, method of, figuring out our length of pull is place the gun in the bicep, make a 90-degree trigger finger, and adjust that, or measuring it with a measuring tape from that bicep area to your 90-degree trigger finger, and then setting up your stock length that way. So with the firing hand grip fully wrapped around with the thumb, what I have noticed is when I go to pick up a gun real quick, especially the heavier guns we have these days in the mill with all the clip-ons and things like that, or competition rifles, they're not light anymore. And so if I need to get up and move quickly, I can do that because I don't have to risk dropping the gun. I've got full support here holding the gun with my thumb wrapped around versus if my thumb was on this side, I could risk slipping off. If my hand's cold and I can't feel it very well, I lost dexterity, I'm sweaty or it's raining, things like that, I don't have to worry about that. Also, in a competition environment where time matters, what you'll see a lot of people doing is they place the gun on safety, or they can't, on safe, they can't, so they wrap their thumb around, then put it on safe, and then, pick up their stuff and move. And so what that does is costs us time. So if you have to do that 4, 5, 6, 10 times in a stage, depending on how long it takes you to do that, you now multiply that, and it could cost you seconds. Well, seconds can lead to a win or lose of that stage. Or overall time if you're shooting, 16, 18, 20 stages in a match. So just something to think about on that on the competition side. Obviously, we always want to maintain positive control of the gun for safety reasons, but it also works in efficiency for things like that. Something else I've seen with wrapping the thumb on this side, and maybe you have or haven't had it happen. Some people won't admit to it. I have had it happen, and I'll tell you. Depending on the recoil, how much recoil the weapon has, if it's a large frame, small frame, whatever, the short distance or the length of the distance of reset and the weight of the trigger, I've seen people double. I've also had it happen depending on the position I'm in. So maybe if I'm shooting off a barricade and I'm not wanting to shoulder the gun a lot or whatever, the gun recoils in my hand because I don't have a good firm backstop in that web of the thumb there. I pull the trigger, the gun moves, and it pulls the trigger again, and it essentially causing a negligent discharge or accidental discharge, depending on your terminology. So when wrapping that, I typically do not see that or have had that because now I have contact in the back, contact in the front, and I'm pulling or pressing, depending on your term, straight to the rear. So just a couple takes on what I have seen and why I do a full wraparound grip.